Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
What's up, Dilz? Heartless. This is Mac, aka A Crusty Spoon. I wanted to share my favorite RuneScape memory. My favorite memory of all time was actually the first week that I became a member of this clan. I got a 3KC Dragon Warhammer at Shaman's on my phone, on my lunch break at work. To this day, I just remember freaking out. Keep up the great work. Love the podcast. And keep grinding.
Hello and welcome to episode 232. I almost said 332 because I mislabeled last week. Anyway, I won't get into it. Welcome to episode 232 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dilz and joined as usual, Heartless. How are you?
Yo, what's up, Dilz?
Not a whole lot. We were talking before the podcast. I was asking you because I moved to the east coast of Canada, North America. You are on the opposite end. You're in the west coast. And I was asking you about your weather, and you were telling me how wet it was. But the reason I bring it up because the weather out east, it's fucked. I don't know, and I'm comparing it to Ontario, but I was not equipped for the weather out here.
Do you mean like it's wet or like snowy?
It's like snowy and wet, and it's icy and it's windy, and it's like,
Yeah, man, East Coast. They get it all.
So I'm in this Discord for my local game store, and Friday Night Magic, right? It's Friday right now. And it was like noon, and they made a post saying like, we're canceling all events tonight. I looked outside and the sun was out. There was no wind. It was fine. It didn't seem bad at all. And I was like, what the hell? Why are they closing down? But anyways, now it's messed up. I went to go get some Wendy's, went to go grab some dinner tonight. And there was like 4 accidents. Anyways, it's insane. I had no idea.
And then when you move there too, you had that huge storm. So
yeah, we had a big hurricane. We got a big snowfall, and every house in our neighborhood started getting these little pickets that were like snow removal companies. And I was like, oh, come on, I'll just shovel it. And then I'm out there shoveling it for like 4 hours, looking like an idiot when there's like these giant tractors, and they're just like just clearing out driveways like fast. And I'm sitting there like kind of hoping that they'll take pity on me and they'll come, but they don't. They never do.
Damn, dude.
Anyways,
I didn't realize how bad it was.
Weather was so brutal. I had to bring it up before we can even tease what we're going to talk about today. We got a devblog all about Desert Treasure 2. Some of the rewards that we're going to see. Desert Treasure 2, The Fallen Empire. What a badass name. And you know what? With the recent, not just quests, but the quests are the one that stand out. We've been getting awesome trailers for each of the quests. And I'm really looking forward to like what they drop on us for Desert Treasure 2. Because this is I don't know. What do you think is bigger? Dragon Slayer 2 or Desert Treasure 2? Like what do you think is
I put them on the same level, but like I think rewards wise, this one's gonna be much bigger. Like there are 4 bosses, and from DT we basically got Vorkath, which at the time was big, but now with the 4 bosses coming, it sounds like their loot is going to be pretty crazy, and even the mechanics are going to be significantly more challenging than Vorkath for some of them, anyways. So.
Yeah, it should be interesting. They're both super iconic. One's like free to play, but the other one is like ancient magics, and you know our younger versions were always like that. That was a big deal.
Just casting Ice Barrage was like, dude, crazy. Casting Vengeance. Those are the spells I always wished I could cast when I was a kid.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. We'll get to that in a second, and then we have a poll blog with some goodies to go through it. I'll be honest, I haven't even looked at it yet, but I know a few things that are in there, but we'll go through it together. Now, Heartless, before I ask you what you've been up to this week, I had a revelation. I learned something this week. I was chatting to someone. I was chatting to Twisted in our in our Discord, a group Iron Man player, and they were telling me about group Iron Man mode, and I had no idea how abandoned group Iron Man mode was. And I don't think many people do. He was telling me these things and it was blowing my mind. You know, content gets kind of abandoned or ignored or gets like half done and they move on. It's not that big of a deal, but I was surprised because of how big of a deal group Iron Man mode was. So there's three things that really stood out to me. So when group Iron Man came out, one of the big clusterfucks about it was like, what do you do about the competitive players? Right? When you have like a group Iron Man mode where multiple, like up to 5 Iron players could play together, you're gonna have people who are gonna want to compete. And on the surface, that's like really easy to set up. You just like have these teams racing for the high scores. But a problem that a lot of people have is like players leave group Iron Man mode, and then what do? You can't really bring players back on because then when it comes to like the competitive aspect of it, it's like that becomes very flawed. There's a lot of things you could exploit, right, by bringing new players on or having new players leave. It's just like you gotta start adding all these weird rules. At first, they just kind of left it. You know, people can leave, whatever, but that's it. You're stuck with your group. And eventually they brought out, well, okay, what if we let players join? And then we have like unranked group Iron Man mode, and we have prestige Iron Man mode, and unprestiged group Iron Man mode, and all these different ones. But the idea was that you would have a group prestige mode, which was like your group has been together and you haven't broken some of the rules where you got help from people outside of your group, like doing group content with people outside of your group. That would break the prestige. So this is how I remember it, at least. They pitched the idea of having 2 separate competitive aspects. You have the prestige mode, the group's been together, and then the non-prestige mode for groups they stay together, but they might do Chambers of Xeric with other players, or they might do other group content with other players. They interact in some way, but not enough where it's like it breaks the game mode. Does this all sound familiar? Like, am I on the right track in your eyes?
Yeah, I think so. Group Iron Man is a weird one. It feels like, I don't want to say dead content because it's not, but it was so hyped and it took them so many resources to make. It's, I would say, been a massive failure. It is, but like, I mean, there's people who enjoy it and it's still possible. It might sound like we're... No. I think it's definitely a good mode. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's compared to what it was supposed to be and how many resources went into it, it's a huge failure. And I bet you even most group Iron Man would admit that.
I think there's things that they probably know what I'm going to bring out. They're like, yeah, like I can't believe that it's being neglected. So when you look at group Iron Man mode, there is no separate high score. Like every group Iron Man team is on the same high score, whether you're prestiged or non-prestige mode, right? Now, I thought, when I was talking to Twisted, he was under the impression as well that there would be 2 separate high scores for these two, for the 2 types of group teams. But they never implemented that system. So that's one way that it got neglected. Here's the second one. This one was crazy. So about a year ago, maybe less than a year ago, they came out with they did all these updates that we're talking about, but in order to get more people hyped for Group Iron Man again, they had this raffle. Do you remember this little tournament thing they had where your groups would compete for membership? And the whole idea was like your group would kill bosses or do content together and you would get tickets. And then after the time, a random team would be selected and like everybody gets like, I don't know, a year's worth of membership or permanent. I can't remember what it was, but everyone gets like membership on that account if you win the raffle. Now, if you have a Group Iron Man mode, you can still go sign up for that competition that ended 6 months ago. It's still all implemented in game as if it's still running. There's a settings page and everything that says, do you want to join? It clicks, yeah, confirming your team is going to join this raffle. But the raffle ended like 8 months ago or something like that. But it's still there as if you could enter it for the first time. So they just like they did it and they never touched it. They never removed it.
I never heard about this. This is crazy.
Twisted was showing me this, all the menu settings and stuff, and I was like, there's like nobody took care of Group Iron Man mode. They just like did all these things and then left. Another one that's really kind of fucked up. So I'm cussing a lot. I'm really I didn't get much sleep last night. The little one kept me up. Okay. But anyways, should have a censorship warning at the beginning. So the part of the like separation between prestige and non-prestige is like doing group content outside of your group. So if you did like Chambers of Xeric with other players, this is what they originally was, you would lose the prestige mode. But some content you can group with as many people as you want. If you want to go do the new wilderness bosses, you can group with anyone, no problem. If you want to go do next, you have to do it with your team. You can't do it with anyone else or you lose that prestige. So at some point, like, there were developers who really cared about what content Group Irons could do together. And then at some point, they just had nobody taking care of it. So like this new wilderness boss that just got released, I mean, Group Irons can go ahead and do it. No problem. They won't get affected as a team. But if you want to go do next or like, I don't know, a raid or something, that will affect your prestige.
It's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes I feel like they cater to people who want to go for high scores too much with Group Iron Man. I think that kind of like messed with the flow. It's meant to be like a casual, fun thing that you experience with your friends, and they turned it into this like hyper competitive mode and then didn't give it the support it needed. And
yeah,
therefore,
that's
like,
exactly what happened.
Like it's basically dead. Like none of the streamers do it. Every Group Iron Man, I run into quite a few of them now. They're all either unranked Group Iron Man because their friends quit and they've joined like other people they know, or they just play it as a solo Iron Man because they don't want to restart. And a lot of them wish they could just be a regular Iron. At least the end game, you know, the people I'm running into it next and Tob and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's a tricky one, man. Like, I think ultimately they're probably just going to let it die. I don't think they're going to touch it anymore. I mean, no more Group Iron Man updates.
Yeah, it's almost like they're going to let it go the way like RuneScape Classic went, where they used to have like a really small team that looked after it. And then one day they were like, listen, we're not making money off this. Who cares? They took all the devs away from it. And then it just slowly, nobody was looking after it.
Yeah, it's done its...
Bots overran it. And then they just shut it down.
It's done its job, right? Like 80, I can't remember how 80,000 accounts made on like week 1 of Group Iron Man. A lot of them will have been members, so they make their money and then kind of just dip. I don't think they're gonna. Sadly, like I feel for the Group Irons, the ones who still play it, because it's a cool mode and I think they deserve updates, but it's just kind of dead, isn't it?
Yeah, it's disappointing, and and part of the reason I want to talk about it as well, because like this isn't the first time we've seen this. Another huge one that really sticks out for me, sticks out for like a lot of people because it gets asked about all the time. It's Fossil Island, right? Mm-hmm. Fossil Island came out. There's a bunch of activities you can do on it. It's fine content. It's decent. It's fun stuff to do. I actually really like Fossil Island. But part of the fun part is like when you're doing these activities, you get rewarded these fossils every now and then. And there's like small, medium, and large. And then there's these rare fossils. And the question is like, what's their purpose? There's like not really a purpose with them. You can take them, you bring them to the Varrock Museum, you can assemble them into these display cases, and you get experience lamps, which is great. But once you get your experience lamps, that's about it. But the rare fossils were always touted as like, oh, we have ideas where these rare fossils are really going to be needed. Oh boy, guys, you guys want these rare fossils?
I think the problem there was that dev left. So they couldn't really do much about it
which is crazy.
Yeah, but that's just kind of the nature of the way their company is set up. Sadly, it's like one person takes on a certain project, and if they leave halfway through, it kind of messes up the project, and they just kind of put it on the back burner. So I think Fossil Island is it's one of my favorite places. It's at least fleshed out enough. They could add more to it, but it's okay. But it's like Group Iron Man feels like it was kind of like a flash in the pan, you know, like it did its thing. Everyone was stoked for it, but now there's not a lot of people who play it traditionally. A lot of them are just playing regular. Ultimately, also the mode kind of turns into a more intense version. Like I'm in the end game of Iron Man. I only have to get one copy of everything, right? Like I just need one Warhammer, I need one Twisted Bow, one Scythe. I only need one of everything. If you're playing on a group Iron Man and you're looking to get into the end game with your like a close friend or something, like you need to get 2 of everything. So like, yeah, you're gonna have to get some dupes, but it can become pretty sweaty. So it's almost at some stage can become less casual than it was intended to be, which makes it challenging as well.
Yeah, especially like, I don't know, let's say you want to go do Nex. You got to be kind of geared. You got to be kitted out, right? Like,
yeah, both of you need to be kitted.
Yeah, you can't really just get carried unless you don't care about the prestige. But yeah, it's crazy. But there's one thing I want to talk about back at the fossil islands when it comes to the fossils. And it's like, it has to do with the whole fossil part. And as you mentioned, a dev left that was working on it, and that's why it became what it was. But it's like kind of disappointing. So this is the last dev blog we heard about this specific thing. This is going back to 2017. And it's even titled The Future ... And has a picture of a big open, looks like it's an area in the Varrock Museum, but it kind of looks like an arena. And it's kind of gated off, and it says, this is what it reads on the dev blog. Let's address the final topic we've seen. Why should I bother gaining kudos and fossils after I unlock the volcanic mine? The current answer is nothing outside the experience lamps they give ... For now, because not in the not so distant future, similar to Skotizo, which is this boss that you get from collecting these totem pieces. Once you get the totem pieces all together, you can fight the boss. We plan on adding a demi-boss to use those spare fossils you've acquired. There's a convenient spot on the bottom floor of the museum that's not currently filled, and if you wander down there, you'll be able to take a look. And that's like the last we ever hear about it. So you kind of gave the answer on why it happened. The dev who had this vision left. But it's crazy to me that you would have this area built out, and clearly there was some sort of plan in place, and then just nothing. And I don't know if we will ever see something put there because we have just moved so far past it at this point. It's been 6 years since it came out. Now, what do you think, Heartless? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'll happen one day, but not for a while. And honestly, I think there's bigger fish to fry.
And I think that's why I don't know if we'll ever see it, because there are, as you said, it feels like there's bigger fish to fry. And it's kind of why Jagex gets the joke where there sometimes where people say they're the biggest indie, like they're a huge indie developer, because they make decisions and mistakes the same way a small indie team would make. But anyways, that blew my mind. That was crazy. And then the group Iron Man mode thing, and then the thing that felt closely related to that was the Fossil Island Fossil Island fossils. But I mean, there's the argument to be made with Dead Man mode, maybe even Leagues, because Leagues are so infrequent. What's going on? And then, of course, long and curved bones, which don't feel like they really have that purpose. And they've pitched a few ideas, but that's about it. Anyways, that was my little tangent I wanted to go on. Feel free to add on, but I know you've been up to some stuff this week as well, so I do want to hear about that.
Oh boy, do you want to get into some positives?
Yes.
Okay, dude, the Wilderness update has been unbelievably fun.
Agreed.
I haven't had this much fun with RuneScape in like a long time, and I do enjoy the game in general. Like I have a lot of fun. Man, I had a blast last weekend. I killed 500 Venenatus.
Oh, nice. That's a lot.
Yes, which is a lot. And I managed to get the Void Waker gem, excuse me.
Oh, shit. So that's one of the 3 pieces you need for the new sword.
Exactly. I've been really hunting Revenants tasks. It's kind of been my sort of side project. And I've killed, so it's about 1 in 1,000 to get a weapon.
Right.
From the Revenant Knights, which I'm using the safe spot for.
Is that if you're skulled?
Skulled. So I'm skulled up with like a rune crossbow. It's low risk. I've only died once because I was not paying attention. It's fairly chill. Like I'd highly recommend it for any irons. But I've been like Turiel skipping using this like method where your regular Slayer task will go up because you're using Turiel to skip Crystalia tasks. So you grab a Wildy task. If you don't like it, you skip it with Turiel. Your regular task streak goes to 1. Then you grab another task from the Wildy Girl and Crystalia. If you don't like it, you go back to Turiel. Your task will go up to 2. So it keeps stacking them. Yeah, so it's unlike regular. It's a really great way to sort of And then every 50 or so, I'll go over to Konar and grab a task, and then I'll scoop up some points. So it's a nice way to get points and skip for wilderness tasks.
When you Turiel skip, does it reset your wilderness task score?
Yeah, it sets it to 0. So some people do regular Worldy Slayer, but honestly, it's quite quick to skip this way, and you still get points. So I'm just all about the Turiel skipping. Anyways, I was doing that, so I'm trying to go for revs, but when I get a Veni spider task, I'll send Venedatus. I got a dupe of Agora's Chain Mace, which is a bit sad, but I've killed about 1,500 knights now, so I'm halfway to the raid. It's 1 in 3,000 for a crossbow, and that's the last weapon I'm missing.
Damn, it's a good one too.
Yeah, I can scale up with the mace, but I've tried it, and it's not really that much faster, and you get attacked a lot more. Some people just ignore you when you're in the Grag gear, so I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. It's working well. Anyways, the point being, so we went to Venenatus. Myself, you can do it with multiple people, which is fun. I went with Accelerate, God of Thunder, and 2JZ Soup. A couple other people were in and out as well, but those were sort of like the main 4 people. We were doing trios, swapping out. And what we did was we set up an alt outside of the lair.
Security cameras.
The security camera. Yeah. Okay. So we set up the security camera, which is pretty common, right? Like you have an alt to scout people. So we're doing that. Whenever we'd see someone, we'd be like, okay, run. So we'd run into the caves. And then sometimes teams would log in because when you get into the cave system, there are, I think, 4 choices to leave. And they'll pop you out in different areas. By far, the best of the exits is the south because it pops you out just maybe 15 tiles north of the 30 line.
Interesting.
And then you can just tele out. Now, what happens is teams will log in there and then tele block you when you come out and pile you. So what we did is we set up the big sentry security camera number 2 at the south entrance so that we had eyes on both. So we knew if teams were trying to flush us out of the caves into their awaiting grasp, and then we would just simply go out a different exit and escape them. And honestly, all weekend, I think I died once while we had the double camera setup going.
Amazing.
So it was like this game of cat and mouse with the PKers, and honestly, it was really fun. And definitely they got us sometimes, like they would just rush in and get us before we even saw them on the camera. But it was hilarious. We had a lot of fun.
And I think if you're doing it with a group, we were doing Callisto before to be like, up to 10 of us, because that's one of the downfalls that they've added. You can basically only group up to 10, and then it's only the top 10 people who do the damage get loot. So,
yeah, I mean, doing it with more than 10 is a little cringe, though.
Is a lot. So. But the fun part with a bigger group is when you do get flushed out, it's like one or 2 people might die, but the rest get away, and it's like it's kind of fun and it's exciting and it's funny to see who gets killed in the clan chat because we have our broadcasts on so we can see when people die. It's funny.
It's just like the real life wilderness, you only have to be faster than the slowest guy.
Well, with that technique you mentioned, because I'm surprised. Yeah, you mentioning going south. I hear a lot of people say they go northeast because if you just head east to the coastline, you're in singles, so a team can't get you, and it's only one person you have to deal with. A little bit easier, but as you mentioned, going south, you're closer to the level 30 to teleport out. But yeah, the first time I ran south, because naturally that's what you want to do, you pop out and there's a line of people waiting for me.
Yep.
And you're just like, shit.
So it's definitely nice to have the dual system. And then if we see people logging in the south, we'll just leave out one of the other exits. Even the really terrible ones, the rope, even we'll go up the rope sometimes if there's people in the area. And we also purchased the rings of Third Age, where you can change into Third Age.
Oh, that's so funny.
So we turned ourselves into Third Age man braces, which are very, very hard to see. I know people play with player indicators, but occasionally people don't. So for those people, it's still worth it, even just for the memes. But yeah, we had an absolute blast.
I don't do it. And a few times I get spooked because somebody has their camera as a rock outside one of the layers and you don't notice it for a minute.
Yeah. We are all about that. So yeah, man, it was a great weekend and nice to get a couple drops.
That's great.
And yeah, we'll probably send some more. So.
It has been really fun. Because I think that's most of what I'm doing when I'm actively playing. I'm probably in the wilderness. I finally got the new weapons. I just sold some stuff off, bought them, and they feel awesome. Like you have the chain mace, which is really meant you have a spec, and when you hit, it's going to help you get away. It prevents the person from running for a few seconds. It drains their agility level, and I think it drains some of their energy, but it's really meant for you to get away. So it feels great. And then they have the crossbow that turns into the web weaver bow. And that special attack is like the opposite. It's like meant for you to anti-PK with, because you do like 4 quick shots and you have a chance. And I think you do poison them, or at least you have a really high chance to. But I think you can, I haven't done it yet, but I've been doing a lot of revs and stuff, and I've been putting myself in like really vulnerable areas because I just want somebody to anti-PK me, because I want to try web weaver spec into the AGS to spec them out and get the kill. That's the dream. But it's fun. It's exciting. It's like it's different from other pieces of content because the PKer variable is like you can't predict it like you can with like other parts of bossing where you can really break it down to kills per hour, because you do them enough, gets kind of consistent. Anything in the wilderness, you don't know, because you don't know if you're going to get jumped or what's going to go on.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, it's been a fantastic update.
Yeah, it's fun. And it kind of gave me this fun little goal of like, maybe I should try to like green log all the wildy bosses. I'm often trying to find this new goal to attach onto and drive me motivate me to do something on my main. And I think right now I'm going to put my eyes on wilderness content. Let's just complete everything in the wilderness, and then we'll move on. We'll see how long I can hold on to that goal before I move on to something else. But today, that's what it is. Anything else you wanted to talk about before we jump into the news? Because we got some big ones to talk about.
No, let's dive in.
Okay, the first thing we're going to talk about, we teased at the beginning. This is a big one. I hope I'll be disappointed if it's not. It's Desert Treasure 2, The Fallen Empire. Do you have any memories about Desert Treasure 1?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite quests.
It's pretty intense.
Yeah. Like when I first became a member, that was like the one I was really stoked about doing, because I'd never done it when I was a kid. So I was just, yeah, let's do Desert Treasure. And I remember on my main just really, really enjoying it. And then when I redid it on my Iron Man, equally as fun.
It's a doozy of a quest. And yeah, especially back in the day where Ancients was like, it was a big deal to get, PKing was very popular and stuff. And that's what all the big boy PKers had. They had Ice Barrage and all that fun stuff. And training magic was pretty hard. So even getting the levels to use it, Ancient Magics really felt like the gamer spells.
Yeah, and just the actual quest itself, just the fact that it's like desert based, but you do have to go all over Gielinor to grab the gems. It felt like a really expansive quest.
Yeah, and it had the 4 bosses, which were pretty tough. And one of the coolest parts that I love, and I would love to see it introduced more so in the game, is that random stranger assassin guy who would show up and randomly attack you because you had the gems on you.
Oh, you know what's going to happen this time, but with the assassin. Oh. The guy who runs and like will change attacks. I think it's going to be much harder, but I'm sure he's going to randomly show up too.
I hope so. Because that was always so cool. I remember it would pop up, and if you weren't prepared, like sometimes you'd bank, you didn't have any food on you. You could just be in a really bad spot, and he would get you. So I hope there is that element, because that would be awesome. But my memories of it, I remember I came home from school. I was probably playing RuneScape at like 3:30 in the afternoon, which is when I would get home. And I remember it took me all evening to complete the quest. But it was such a big deal when I completed it. And then eventually I made my pure, and I did the same thing on my pure, and it took me forever to do it. And because I did Desert Treasure twice, I had some friends that like kind of looked at me and they're like, yo, this guy's, you think you're good because you killed Jad? This guy's done Desert Treasure twice. So I had a friend who would I don't remember if he paid me or if he just asked me, can you do Desert Treasure? And I was like, yeah, I'll get you those ancient maps. It was kind of an ego thing. Like, yeah, I'll get you access to this, dude. Don't worry. I'll do you a good one.
Big Dilz on the black market selling quests.
I know.
The original quest helper.
I remember it taking like 8 hours every time. And then
oh God.
Yeah.
But I hope you got paid well for that.
I don't think I got paid at all. Bag of candy from 7-Eleven. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get some Skittles or something. Sweet. So anyways, yeah. Desert Treasure. This is a big deal. On par with Dragon Slayer 2. Now, I'll be honest. I looked at this devblog a little bit, and I've seen a little bit of feedback, and I've kind of voted in the questions being asked. But this is all, I'm going in a little bit blind, Harless, I'm going to be honest. I haven't had a chance to fully read through it.
Okay, I've read it, so I'm in the knowledge, though my opinions might not match with other people's.
Ooh, interesting. Well, the first thing we're talking about is this is going to be about 4 bosses that come from this new quest. 4 farmable bosses that will drop uniques afterwards. It's going to be like it's going to be like Vorkath, where when you finish Dragon Slayer 2, Vorkath is a boss you now have access to. You can continuously farm. So we're going to have 4 bosses like that, which makes sense because they're probably going to have the 4 gems and the 4 different biomes you're going to have to go through. But we're talking about the rewards from this. This is always the hard one to get through. It's the rewards from the bosses. And the first one here is Virtus Robes. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we already had a cosmetic version of this in the game from Nex.
We do. They come from the next minions, the ancestral and ancient ceremonial.
Yeah. Okay.
But Virtus was actually originally pulled to come from Nex, but people were like, "Nah, dude, we don't want that. We want something big."
Yeah.
And then they gave us Torva, and then we all realized it probably should have been Virtus.
Fair,
but it's all good. So we always knew they were going to come into the game. Like we got Masori from the raids, so we knew that Virtus was next, and here they are. And I'm glad they're not just like a straight upgrade on Ancestral. They're like a side grade.
That's what it seems. And I guess we're going to find out more information from the pulling, because they're pulling a bunch of different things. But yeah, as you mentioned, these are magic robes you'll be able to get. So Ancestral gives you direct damage boost. It's all percentage based. So you get 6% magic damage when you have the full set equipped. Whereas Virtus is going to look like there's a chance it's going to be specific to ancient magics. They are unsure. These questions are being pulled. Like, do you want it to be only for ancient magics, or do you want it for all magics? Do you want it to be a straight stat upgrade? Like, should this just be straight up better than ancient magics? Or sorry, should this be straight up better than ancestral robes? Or should it be like a side upgrade instead of it being percentage based for all things? Maybe it's just for ancient magics. Am I understanding that correctly? Is there anything I'm missing?
I think that's basically the gist of it. And I hope that they just end up as a side grade, because I think it's kind of weird to replace Ancestral because it comes from Raids 1. So it'd be super strange if it just became like an obsolete drop. So I'm hoping that it just boosts like Ancients, and then it'll be great for bursting. It's going to still be kind of bad though. Like, I don't know, maybe it won't be. Maybe I'm trolling, but I think that Ancestral will just be better because you'll use it on all the raids.
Yeah.
There are not that many places you use Ancients except for like you use Ancients to, I guess you use PKing, it'd obviously be really good. But typically Ancients is used in you don't just sit there just spamming it, right? You use it like as a utility spell to freeze a monster or whatever. Whereas like Ancestral, you use your staff and you send it, right? So it's a tricky one.
I love ancient magics getting a little bit beefier. They're so fun. But yeah, we don't really use them. They kind of are PvP spells. And it kind of, like, to keep it on theme, a lot of the not a lot, but some of the teleports will bring you directly into the wilderness. So even when they were designed, it seemed like ancient magics was a PvP spellbook. So yeah, it's hard. How can you make this viable? Maybe it will only, if they go this route where it's going to boost you if you're using ancient magics, maybe it's going to be the route where, you know, whenever you're killing something with ancient magics, but then again, yeah, like, aren't you just going to want to bring the Ancestral because you want that boost to your staff?
It's hard to speculate. Well, we should wait for the
That's
poll.
true. This is true. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are.
Either way, I guess it's interesting. I guess magic gear makes sense. We'll see. Magic makes a lot of sense because Desert Treasure 1 and Desert Treasure 2 are very magic-based quests, they feel.
Yeah, totally.
The next set of rewards, and they just have it labeled Best in Slot Rings. Now, the poll questions that they had, here, maybe I should pull it out. Can I pull it out? They are giving the option of in the polls, do you want these new rings to just be straight up better than the Fremennik rings? So Zerker, Warriors, Archers, Seers ring. Do you want them to just be better versions of them? Or do you want them to kind of fill a niche and maybe have some sort of effect or some different type of stats that make it unique from the other set of rings that we have?
Interesting. What do you think, Dilz?
I really like the is it light bearer or light bringer?
The light bearer.
Light bearer. I really like the light bearer because it's kind of cool seeing where you can bring it, and like it fills this weird niche. Sometimes I just bring it when it's not the best in slot item to bring, but because I want to like whatever playstyle I'm going for, it fits. If I want to AFK and then maybe use my SGS to just heal off whatever it is attacking me, sometimes I bring that ring instead. Just for the Tsars monsters when I was farming them, I brought them, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, the Archer's ring and the Seer's ring are terrible. They're useless rings.
A lot of people have been saying that
opinion.
about the Archer's ring, which is interesting because for the longest time, I feel like people thought that the Archer's ring was amazing.
They still do, but like they're just better rings than that. Like almost every single time. The only place I use it is like turtle skipping. And, maybe I used to use it at, I know that's, and I use it at Giant Mole, but even then you could argue that it'd be better to use like a Ring of the Gods or something that gives you prayer bonus.
True. So,
because it basically does nothing. So I think we're long overdue for a range strength ring, like a +2 range strength ring.
interesting.
And then a +2% magic ring as well.
Because that's the problem with the Seers, I guess, Warriors and Archers, right? They don't give you strength bonus. So they're not making you hit harder, right?
No. Berserker ring is like a best in slot and has been for years. It's an amazing ring. But the other two are terrible. So I think it's time that we upgrade them to range and magic strength, and then maybe just give a tiny buff to the Berserker ring. It's already strong enough.
Interesting.
That's my opinion. So
Yep, I actually went the other direction, and I lean towards the unique effects. But I think just because I want to see them be more creative, I have felt like Jagex, when it comes to like item design, as of the past few years, it feels like they've gotten a little bit lazy to me. Maybe I'm just like cherry picking, but we're just getting items that are like, they don't do anything special. They're just straight up better.
What about this? Like if they dropped, so we talked about like Breakdownscape about, if they drop new best in slots, like you use the DK's rings to crush them maybe, and then dust them on top as like a way to upgrade them.
Yeah, that's a question that they asked. Do you want to have to rely on the DK rings to upgrade these new?
Like I'd be okay with that, right? That's kind of like the status quo of how we do new drops. But the other option would be to leave the Berserker ring as is and don't give it an upgrade because it's already strong. Offer a new ring that maybe has like stab bonus and +8 strength. So it's like better if you're stabbing, and then the Berserker ring would be better if you're like, I don't know, crushing or something. So maybe just like switch up the rings so that you bring different ones based on what activity you're doing. So that'd be a good way to do it. And then you could just add a range strength and a mage strength ring and just let them drop as is.
Interesting.
That's another option.
Okay, here, I've got it.
There's a bunch of things you could do with how they drop, to be honest.
There is. A long time ago when they first brought out the Rev caves, they were trying to come up with some PvP items. And I was trying to brainstorm like what item feels lacking when you think of like the wilderness. And I landed on rings because at the time we had less rings than we do now. But even still, like, we don't really have I guess we're starting to get some cool rings, but it always felt like rings were like a good spot where you could have some cool little utility items. But okay, let me pitch. I have an idills. That's what I'm going to call when I have an idea. I have an idills. Okay. I won't say that. I have an idea though. Okay, what if you finish this quest, you get access to like this cauldron, this furnace, and it allows you to combine 2 rings together. So you can take your...
Yeah, okay. I see where you come from.
You take your Berserker ring, and you can take your Tyrannical ring that gives you crush bonus, and you can fuse them together to make a Tyrannical ring with the strength. But then so I think that's a cool idea. But what I agree with what you said. We're still lacking in the mage and range realm of things. You could maybe fuse it with the Ring of the Gods to give it defense and prayer, but
That would be really sick if you could like make custom rings. Oh, I'd love that, dude. And then they become maybe untradeable or something.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. It's kind of like, was it Pokemon where you can put the berries together to make the Pokeballs?
Yeah. So what if they released some new rings, so a mage strength and a range strength ring, and then you could start fusing rings together. That would be so sick. Boom. Because then it would keep them expensive as hell too, because it's a gold sync. Yeah, I'm into this, dude. I really like. I was thinking about getting a second ring slot, but your idea is way better.
Let's take it to Reddit. We got to get Reddit on board. I'm not doing it. But I mean, a second ring slot as well is an idea that Mod Kieran had pitched.
Then you could actually use. Sorry to cut you off, but you could actually, there'd be use for the rings from like Vananatus, for example, which is a terrible ring, but it gives you stab bonus. So maybe you could combine it with a Berserker ring, and now you all of a sudden you have an 8 strength stab bonus ring that maybe you would use next.
Well, I mean, what if you just go all out?
There are options.
It allows you to like customize it. What if it allows you to also unlock a new ring slot? Sounds crazy and completely overpowered.
That would be crazy, because then you could have like 4 rings on. I think,
but
crushing them together is definitely the move.
I'm going to rewind a little bit back to a live stream that happened a way long time ago. But Mod Kieran pitched this idea that he had cooking. Obviously, he never let it finish cooking on the barbecue there. But he had the idea of having 2 ring slots. One, which is your combat rings. That's where all the rings we use would fit in it. But you'd have another ring slot that was your utility rings, where you could put your, ring of dueling, or maybe you could put your ring of wealth.
Slayer.
Things that didn't affect combat.
Light bearer.
Yeah.
Technically not a combat ring. It doesn't have any stats.
That's true. And then they do this, and then they like, well, no, light bearer is a combat stat. And then we complain that they're not being consistent.
Imagine if you could put a light bearer with a Berserker ring. Oh my God. Dilz, I love this idea. You got me on board already. It's going to be powerful as hell. But what if you had to like get a really rare key drop to like unlock the forge where you make them?
Yeah.
So it was like you actually had to earn the right to put your rings together. It's not just free. That would be super cool.
And maybe anytime you wanted to fuse them together, you had to get it again. Or like some sort of like...
Oh, that would be super annoying. But I think maybe just like a one-time drop where it's like somewhat rare to get. I'd be cool with that.
And then maybe in this... We're
getting off topic, Dilz.
I know.
We're getting off topic. This is not what's happening.
It's not going to happen.
Potentially getting new rings, either best in slot upgrades or side.
And they're going to be very boring, I think, regardless.
I agree. Pick what you prefer.
I bet you... Okay, this is my prediction. That's what I want. This is my prediction. They're going to be new best in slot rings, and it's going to look exactly like the old version, but recolored. They'll be like red. It's going to be a Berserker ring, but it's going to be like red or something.
Yeah. It's all good. I hope they don't, but it is, we can't change that.
That's right. The next idea is a new stat that they're pitching about bringing in, and this is called freeze and poison penetration. I think the idea is like some things just can't be poisoned and some things can't be frozen. But what if you had like gear that would increase your freeze penetration and allow you to freeze things not just easier, but if something you weren't able to freeze it, it would give you the chance at being able to freeze it or poison.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I like this idea. If nothing more than that, it could also be a PvP stat, which I think would allow for more room for design, because you could now, if you're worried about, okay, well, this item is too strong in PvP. Well, what if you just gave it like a positive or negative freeze penetration, make it easier to freeze or harder to freeze? I think there's a lot of room you could work there. World of Warcraft has something similar where it's called resilience. And it's basically a defense stat that only applies in PvP. So it makes it really easy to bring out gear that is very defensive for PvP, so you don't have to worry about getting stomped or something like that. It allows them to separate the 2 game modes a little bit, which isn't a great idea, but for RuneScape. But I think that's why I like this penetration, because it gives you some room to bring in items and not worry about being really good in PvP and then also good. You know what I mean? That's the problem that we have sometimes.
No, I think so. I like that.
But I think they also pitch it as a way for bosses as well. Okay, they have a section here called one tick flicking. Do you have any idea what this section's about?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Would you like to go through it?
Okay, basically, so there are going to be some new prayers that are coming in. One tick flicking is like where you're on your prayer orb, or you're just constantly flicking a prayer, so you don't lose any prayer points, but the prayer is continuously up. So if you're one tick flicking protect from melee, you're not losing any prayer points, but you are getting infinite, and you're getting infinite prayer. Basically, it's basically a way to get infinite prayer, but it comes at the cost of usually not being able to move and clicking a shit ton.
Mm-hmm.
And people have different opinions on it. Reddit hates it. Yep. They think it's stupid. I personally love it. In the same way I love Red X. You can play the game without it. It doesn't affect you in any way, but it's a way for people to it's a way to increase the skill ceiling and let people do really crazy things.
Interesting. See, I'm of the opposite. I'm not a huge fan of prayer flicking. I don't really like it. Also,
prayer flicking and one tick flicking are very different. Like prayer flicking being like switching back and forth between different prayers when you're getting attacked by different monsters.
Right. I should say one tick flicking. I'm not a huge fan of.
My argument against it just increases the ceiling so much for what high level players can do. And it comes at a cost. Like you have to click a lot, and you can't really move while you're one tick flicking. But you don't need it to play the game. Like you can get an Infernal Cape without doing it. Most people just lazy flick, which is like you pop up the prayer for like one tick and then take it off, and then just wait for the next attack. That's what I did. I didn't one tick flick my cape.
Okay, so that's interesting. Like my perception, the reason I don't like one tick flicking. One, I can't do it, and when I've tried, it doesn't seem like something I want to do when I'm bossing. But the thing that I also didn't like about it was, to me, it felt like Jagex designed specifically like some of the combat achievements and Inferno around one tick flicking. But again, I'm super ignorant because I can't even do it. So I just ignore it all.
But I mean, there's definitely maybe some Grandmasters where you either have to do it or you brute force it in another way. But if you're going for Grandmaster combat achievements, like learning how to one tick flick is not going to be the hardest thing you do. I'll tell you right now, like there are way harder things in the game than that. And just to do it for one or two tasks, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So it seems like a pretty niche thing that Reddit's coming after.
Reddit,
it doesn't affect them in any way. Most of them are so bad at the game, like it's not relevant to them. You can just play the game and ignore it. Maybe it's an elitist or a boomer view of me, but I don't think it's worth piping up about.
I guess the question, who would be the boomer here?
Whatever,
you or me, the one who likes flicking, the one who doesn't like flicking, because flicking's kind of a newer phenomenon.
One tick flicking?
Well,
I mean, like it's not that new, but whatever prayer they're going to release is not going to be more overpowered than the protection prayers.
Yeah, that's important.
And we can already one tick flick those. So if you really have a problem with it, why don't they just make it that you can't have the new prayers on at the same time as you have the protection prayers on? And then we can get around a lot of these issues. And most of the bosses, you're going to be using them like people that are like, oh, just go over to your inventory and click a prayer pot instead of one tick flicking. Like you can do either one. Like it shouldn't matter. So why even remove it? Why remove that skill ceiling for the high level players?
Mm-hmm. And the reason we're talking about it too is because I think Jagex has taken this into account. We haven't mentioned it yet, but there's a new prayer book coming called The Ruinous Powers. And Jagex is like trying to figure out, what do you do with this one tick flicking? They don't want it to be as overpowered as like one tick flicking as you mentioned, the prayer protections that we have right now. We can like mitigate like 99% of the damage in this game. But they also don't want to. They want players who are going to put that extra effort in. They want to figure out how can we still reward them for learning and being able to prayer flick without it also being super strong.
Yeah, I mean, like whatever they release, I just don't see how it can be any stronger than what we already have, because it's crazy. Like if you're one tick flicking, like protect from range and rigor in the Inferno, like you're just crushing things. But you could also just leave it on, and you don't have to. Like when I did my cape from basically wave 60 to 63. I had saved enough prayer in the early waves that I was able to just basically leave rigor on for the majority of those waves. Like it's not that crazy of like, I just don't see the point of coming after this one.
I like that you point out how strong the prayer protections are. Imagine those were pulled today. You can get these prayers that will protect you from all damage from that source, melee magic range.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
So much so that RuneScape 3 had to like remove the way they work. I think it only blocks 50% or something like that.
So I think when they do release, I mean, if they just add new prayers to our prayer book, then you can start flicking. You're going to be able to flick anyways, because let's say a monster's attacking on tick 1, you have protect from range up, then you attack on tick 2, so you can turn range off, turn on, like, let's say it's soul split, you turn on soul split, then flick it off. You could do it anyways with lazy flicking. So it's dumb to me. If they really want to deal with these problems, they just need to add like a second prayer book. So like you cannot access protection prayers if you're using the new prayers, if they're going to be strong. I think that's a way to get around it.
And they asked that too in the poll blog. They said when it comes to the ruinous powers, well, what they do ask, like, do you want it to be purely combat focused, or do you want us to maybe explore non-combat related prayers, like skilling prayers and stuff like that?
Yeah, the one skilling prayer I saw on Reddit was basically a prayer that if you have it turned on, all drops that would go into your inventory go to the floor instead.
Oh, that's interesting.
So like if you're barb fishing, all the fish would just drop right to the floor.
Huh. Okay, that's cool.
Which I thought that was an interesting one. It would make things more AFK. Skilling anyways.
Yeah, and I like the skilling type of prayers. That being said, ruinous powers, that really sounds like these should be very damage focus. Like I'm picturing overheads that allow you to do more damage at a cost of you taking more damage, or you're damaging yourself. You're more vulnerable. You turn into like a glass cannon. That's what I think of when I hear ruinous powers.
Yeah, I think so. So that's why they're worried about it being, I don't know. I see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of see where it lies.
It's a tricky one. Next, they have, we got this with Ancient Scepter. We got the Muspah dropped an attachment to your Ancient Staff. But they want to explore being able to use 4 different gems, which is very thematic because, Desert Treasure 1 and presumably Desert Treasure 2 will be centered around these 4 gems, the Shadow, Smoke, Ice, and Blood gem. Equipping one of these gems into your scepter would give you unique perks or some sort of unique effect for that spell. So Shadow.
These are really cool.
Yeah, they don't go into details of what these unique effects would be. They're just asking, does that sound cool? Do you like that idea? And of course, people are probably going to say yes. But yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Now, my first thought when I heard all these, I was like, 4 bosses, these are some of the rewards. It seems a little light to me. But we were discussing it in our clan and people disagreed. They're like, it seems like a lot for 4 bosses. What do you think?
It seems good. We have rings, assuming I think best in slot's going to pass.
Yeah, so 4 rings.
We have the gems, probably from like maybe 1 from each boss or something.
4 gems.
We have the Virtus robes, which are going to be like ancestral-ish level.
3.
We have prayers, which are, dangerous new territory.
Oh, interesting. You think we're going to unlock the prayers through the bosses?
I think so. I don't see why not. So there's a lot of new power coming into the game. I like it. And I'm curious to see what they do with the prayer thing. Obviously, I'm against the one tick flicking, but if they decide not to and do it in a reasonable way, then fair enough. But I assume it's probably going to be like a whole different book or something like that anyways.
That's what I think, yeah.
Or maybe it's something we unlock from the quest itself. There could be lots of options because obviously the quest will have some actual rewards too.
Right.
It won't just be like a nothing quest. It's a big boy quest. Yeah, interesting, man. I'm curious to see what will come. I think it's about time we got new prayers. It seems like an obvious direction.
Yeah.
But prayers are so powerful that they do have to be careful about how they bring them into the game.
Yeah, and it fits well being able to have a whole new prayer book, and it allows you to really balance it because you don't have to worry. I think that's a big problem. We have the protect from melee, range, and mage to worry about. This new prayer book, it's gone. Ignore it. You don't have to worry about, well, you can just mitigate all your damage. No, you can focus on other things maybe. Yeah, I think it's great. I'm really excited for the new prayer book as well. Now, before we do wrap up, talking about this dev blog, well, another thing that we had been talking about is there's this very common pattern we're seeing where any new best in slot item requires the old best in slot item to be consumed or combined with this new item in some way to keep it relevant. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. It just seems like it's a lot. Do you have any like strong thoughts on that?
Well, obviously I'm biased because I'm an Iron Man.
Fair.
I think I personally like we'll call it breakdownscape. I think it's a good progression of the game. For Irons, it makes obviously why it's good. It makes all the content relevant and worth going for. But from a mains perspective, I think it keeps boss drops reasonably expensive. So you can actually make some money as a lower level PVMer. You know, like let's say they just released 3 rings that were better than DK's. DK rings would be worth nothing, which, you know, might be okay. But what if you're looking to get into bossing as a low level player and you want to learn how to prayer flick, or you want to first start getting into a boss where you have to deal with different timings, different gear switches? DK's is a great place to start, but you're probably not going to want to do it if you're not making any money out of it. So I think it's important to keep the content in the game relevant. If that means breakdownscape, then I think it's kind of a necessary evil for just how the game is built and how many different bosses we have. Obviously, it's a little weird, like going to next and getting like damaged Torva plate legs. But you also want to keep, maybe Bandos would have been an exception because Torva is so expensive that Bandos would have still stayed pricey. But it's just a way to make sure that other content is still worth farming for people that want to do it. So I think the positives outweigh the negatives.
Yeah.
For me.
Like when I think of the negatives, it just kind of feels lazy. And then
of course it does. Yeah.
I got to stop myself from thinking, well, what happens when we get the next best in slot rings? Are you going to have to combine 2 sets of rings now to, like, you know what I mean? You have to keep, it becomes like this step where it's like from one ring to the next. It's like one small favor, but creating your new best in slot. But I agree with you, because if DKs suck to do because they're not worth any money, mid-game players just lost a piece of content. And are we going to add new content from them? Probably not. So then it's
just reducing the things that they would want to do. So
want to do and what they can do. And then it's like, well, the fun starts in the end game when you can raid. And then, but then the thing is, they're going to be like, I have this with friends that play it. Well, fuck, man, it takes me forever to get to raid ready. Well, if that's when all the fun starts, then we have to get that process going quicker. We got to get players to the end game as fast as possible. That's the evolution. World of Warcraft, RuneScape 3, Guild, like tons of games go that route.
I think the way they did Masori was really cool. So the drop is actually really good by itself. Like, it is maximum power. But if you want to upgrade the defense, then you got to grab Arma. I think that's the way to do it versus perhaps the way they did the next drops. I wish the next drops were like usable as is, and then you could upgrade them with Bandos. I think that would have been the way to do it. I kind of like the way Masori has been done, and they also make it useful for like 30 defense, right? So what if Nex had been good on like, I don't know, 45 defense or something?
Interesting.
All I'm saying is there are different ways to do breakdownscape. It doesn't have to be, you get the item, it's useless unless you upgrade it. You could have it have uses, but then gain like small upgrades if attached with something else. It's also a good way to, like, you know, as a gold sink, you know, you crush the armor and put it into the new armor. I think it's okay. I don't hate it, of course, but biased, like I said.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I don't have any better solutions. And at the same time, when it's done, when it's like masqueraded in a good way, I kind of like it. I like the wilderness weapons, and that's exactly what happens. You combine 2 things together. But I like that process. So
it's just more content to do is better for everyone. So that's why I think it's worth it.
Totally agreed. Well, you know what? We basically covered it here. There is a section where they're going to be looking at community designed rewards. It's like we see this quite often with updates. It's like, you know, they come up with a bunch of ideas, and then they say, hey, why don't you guys pitch idea? Why don't you do the work for us? You come up with some cool ideas.
That's a negative way to frame it. But yeah, I think it's definitely true, but I think it's great.
Yeah, that's the negative. The positive way is, Heartless, you and I can come up with a cool idea like combining rings together. If we pitch it on Reddit and enough people upvote it so it gets in front of jmods, then they might consider it. And how cool would that be to come up with an idea that gets put into the game? That'd be friggin'
Dilz, you should make a post about that, because I really like that idea.
Maybe I'll try it. Maybe sometimes when I make big posts on Reddit, I get shit on, and then I'm like, I don't feel good.
And but sometimes you got a few high level memes up on Reddit. You got a few thousand upvotes on some of them.
It's true. I got some real good memes that were like front page and stuff. And
yeah, you're a bit of a meme king when it comes to Reddit. There's a few of us there's a few of you in the clan, I should say. Definitely not me. There's some meme kings, Feel Good and Ekpiri or Flea. They send some memes. You'd love to see it.
I've really had to like retrain myself because I had this problem that I had to stop. It happens on Facebook too. I see a Facebook group and then I see people talking and they're saying stuff that I think like they're saying really dumb stuff. It makes me angry and I have to tell them how mad and how wrong they are. Then I get into these Facebook fights and then I realized my friends on Facebook can see me getting into these fights. And it was like, okay, that's kind of embarrassing. Same problem with Reddit. I would get into little scraps with people sometimes. And I'm like wasting way too much time. And I'm like on the toilet for like 40 minutes because I'm just angrily typing away on my phone. Now I've learned to like, not worth it. Don't waste your time. You're not gonna change their opinion. You're just gonna get all worked up and have a bad day and spend an hour and a half on the toilet not getting any work done. Then you get in trouble from your boss at work and then it's a whole thing. Anyways, we'll see what happens. I'm very much looking forward to it. We have another dev blog to talk about. This one is very much smaller, but I got a few goodies to talk about. First one is spellbook or spell icon resizing. So this is a thing on mobile. It's now in the main game. That's what happens. It starts off in mobile. People like, whoa, that'd be so broken in the main game. And then 6 months pass. People go, all right, maybe bring it to the main game because it's pretty friggin' awesome. And we have that right now with the resizing. So you can go to your spell book. There's a filter option. You can change it to resize it. So if you have one spell showing, it will blow up and fill the whole spell book tab, making it really easy to click. It's kind of nice, There's again, I was talking to someone and they were saying, well, it makes the game easier in some ways. And my response to that was like, it does. But also, like when I misclick a spell at a boss, it's frustrating. It doesn't feel like I need to get better. It just feels like for whatever reason, I just didn't click it. You have any thoughts on like, some people don't actually like the spell resizing. You can keep it off, by the way. You don't need to turn on.
I don't like it.
Oh, really?
But once again, I'm a boomer. I feel like you just should be rewarded for better clicks. But
that's funny.
I do.
I'm the opposite. I'm like, you know what? We're getting older now. My motor skills are getting worse, and I'm having trouble clicking these little icons. Blow them up for me.
I mean, it used to be a thing on cheat clients where you could get like huge supersized barrages and stuff. And the PKers, I used to watch PKers use it. So you would have like a barrage basically the size of your entire inventory. Like it was that big. Or you would have Teleblock and Entangle and Fire Surge all next to each other. So yeah, I see this definitely even in the playing fields, but people don't really use cheat clients too much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot easier to get caught on them. So yeah, it's fine. It happens in the game. You can't use it in PvP, which is probably for the best. I don't think it should be used in PvP.
That's funny. I think it should be.
Dude, you should be rewarded for like the speed of your clicks.
That's funny.
People even talked about like rearranging prayer book too, like rearranging where things are in the prayer book. That one I don't care as much about. I think, but the resizing I think is a bigger deal in PvP.
I think it is a bigger deal, but it's funny because I was peeking on my Pure and and I agree. I was facing this PKer the other day on my Pure, and I was a little bit tired, and I'm just not as good. So I was misclicking my Fire Surge because that's the whole thing. When you're PKing someone, you're trying to get them to switch their prayer, and then you're trying to switch your equipment to hit them off the prayer. So if they're praying against range, you want to quickly switch to your mage and do a Fire Surge. He puts back on Protect from Magic. You switch to your melee, spec them out. Like it's almost like a rock, paper, scissors game mixed with chess. Now, my problem was when I'm trying to use my magic spells, constantly was misclicking. Constantly. And it was very frustrating. So I was like, give me the resizable, please, because it'll make it so much easier. That being said, that other player, 10, 20 times better than I was. He was getting every magic shot off. He really fucked me up. Like he outclassed me.
He was being rewarded for being better at accurate clicks, which is how PvP should be, right? it's the half tactics, like, thinking about what your opponent's doing. There's like a bit of a chess match, but then there's also the mechanical side, or how fast are you at switching, and how good are you at clicking your barrages and stuff.
I get it. I see both sides of it, but I think for like myself, sometimes it feels like, maybe I'm wrong in this, but it feels like, how could I really improve enough that I could click these small little icons? I know that one way I can improve is by playing on a smaller screen. People play on their resized screen, so it's as small as possible, so their mouse has less movement. I don't like to do that. I like to have my screen full screen all across my monitor, which makes it harder for me to click it, because now I'm having to throw my mouse across the screen to click Fire Surge. But then I see it as like, well, if the Fire Surge was bigger, I wouldn't have to worry as much. I just had to throw it in the general area, and I'll click it no matter what. Now, my personal thoughts are, I think eventually we will see it in PvP, because we did see the spec orb. You can now click it in PvP, which wasn't a thing before. You can only click it outside of PvP, but they've changed that. So I think one day we will see the icons change as well, but probably like a year from now.
Yeah, fair enough. That's an easy scape update for me, but what can you do? The people wanted it. The people got it. Next, they're going to get their 5 components to get their Dragon Warhammer instead of the 1 in 5K.
Oh, that's funny. It's funny because there's some things that I'm like, I would go one step further, and I've pitched the idea. This is going to rustle some feathers. Let's hear your thoughts. How bad of an idea you think this is? What if you could hotkey spells? I could hit G, and now my Fire Surge has been selected, no matter what tab I'm on.
Then we're just playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah, we're getting there, aren't we?
Yeah, hotkeys aren't really like, we have hotkeys, but they're more like switching between your tabs.
Yeah, the F keys. Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a way to change the game completely, right?
It would be. I don't know if we're quite there yet.
Yeah, I think that's a big step. Let's get some new prayers first, and then we'll see how that goes. Magic
secateurs. I've never heard this word outside of RuneScape. It's how strange. But it looks like you can just what? It's going to allow you to increase the yield from bushes and limpwort flowers. All right. Am I wrong in thinking you can just have it in your inventory now as well? Or is that coming down the road?
Yeah, you can have it in your inventory.
There we go.
You never heard the word secateurs before?
No.
Yeah, I wonder what the other word for them would be.
It's a French word. Trimmer? Pruner?
For like pruners. Yeah, pruners. Okay. That's what we call them here. We call them pruners. Maybe it is a French word.
It is. Yeah, everything's in French right now for me.
Yeah, secateurs. Yeah, but I think pruners is what we call them in English, I guess. Interesting.
What's going on over there in the UK?
You big gardening guy over there, Dilz? Big gardener?
No, I do have this like indoor thing called an Arrow Grow, where I can it's like an indoor gardening thing, which is kind of cool. I grew like peppers on there before, which was awesome. Nice. How about you?
Yeah, I like gardening for sure. I like tending to the garden. Not more flowers and stuff rather than like a vegetable garden. But yeah, I'm a fan. I like outdoor gardening. My girlfriend likes indoor, like plant keeping and stuff, like propagation and whatever. So yeah, I'd say we're into it as a family.
Do you have a badass garden in the summer?
Yeah, it's nice. It's the problem around my place is there's so many deer that you have to keep it like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you need really, really strong smelling plants. Certain plants, they just eat them so quickly. Like if you want like nice hostas or something, you just can't keep them because like seriously, the night of, the deer will come and eat the whole thing, like right to the stub. So you need certain plants that are usually like stuff like lavender. They don't really like things that have a lot of powerful smells. So yeah, you gotta cultivate your garden specifically where I live, but it's part of the fun. It still looks nice.
It's interesting. I do like I'll walk by someone's front yard and they got like the most kick-ass garden and you're like, wow. Shout out. That's sweet.
It's a nice hobby to have, It's nice to get outside and do it. My parents were always huge gardeners. They loved it. So growing up, I kind of was, forced to get out there. Every weekend I was out there doing something. Like whether it was mowing the grass or getting in there and getting in the dirt.
Oh, I hate mowing the grass.
Dude, we used to have, I was pretty lucky growing up. I lived in a pretty large house. I mean, it was different times economy-wise, let's be honest. I lived in a smaller town, but it was still a nice house. And we had 12-foot hedges all the way around the house.
Damn.
We had maybe half an acre. And the house was fairly large, but it was very, very old. And the hedges were about 6 feet thick. So, and 12 feet tall. So they were enormous. And we had to clean them up. We had to prune them like every year, like trim them back. What a nightmare of a job doing it with a chainsaw.
Whoa.
I started doing that when I was like 15. So yeah, my parents got me into gardening pretty hard.
That's pretty nuts. That's cool.
But then eventually we had to tear them down because they died at the front. So that was a big job. We were always doing jobs at that house.
You just manually.
I was always laboring on the weekend, at least usually on Saturdays. It's funny because my parents still do it. They're still into the gardening.
Well, it's gonna be fun watching things. You watch them grow.
Watch things improve for sure.
Yeah. I quick story. I used to live with my grandparents in the summers and just periodically. But my bedroom there had like this balcony. And the balcony would be closer to one of their neighbor's house. So, and they had all these hedges as like as a wall. And when I was just like I was just an idiot. I'm a stupid kid, but I was too lazy to go to the bathroom. So I just go on the balcony and just piss into the hedges, from the balcony. And then I remember one time, her name was Lillian, but she was sitting outside and she watched me do it.
Oh no.
She went to my grandma and I got in trouble.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, don't do that.
Rough times.
Don't pee into your neighbor's hedges. Yeah, interesting. Fun stuff. You know what? That's pretty much it for the news. That's pretty much all the fun stuff there. I think. Yeah.
Shall we wrap it up?
I guess we should wrap it up. We'll take a quick break and then we'll come back. And then I think we got a caller from the one and only, but we'll get to that in a moment. Alrighty, we're heading on over to the Grand Exchange where we get to talk about how you can support the show. If that's something you want to do, then yeah, you can totally do that. Head on over to patreon.com/The Wilderness Podcast. And we got a few different tiers, but we started testing out this new perk where you can listen in on live recordings of the show on Discord. Typically takes place on Wednesdays, but you know, we're a little bit loosey-goosey with our schedule sometimes. So just be in Discord and you'll get hit up when it is time for that recording. Another thing we're trying to do is to throw the raw audio up on Patreon so you can listen to it as soon as we're done recording. Well, like the next day, because I gotta do exporting and it doesn't matter. You can listen to the raw audio before the episode actually releases. So if you want some early access content and you get to hear all of the wacky stuff we cut out. Oh my God, there's hours and hours of stuff that gets cut. No, not actually. Maybe over the course of the entire podcast's history, probably, maybe. But yeah, anyways, a lot of that's lost to time. Does not matter. Of course, we have to give a special shout out to our top tier supporters: B. Hutchinson, Bronze Yawn, Yulfi Ferrick, Da Sasquatch, Strosity, P. Jackals, Mallard, Spalimo, and the Kazi. Nope, wait, one more. And Yay Fiber. Guys, thank you so much for supporting the show. We really do appreciate it. It helps continue to cover the costs of this podcast, it's very helpful, especially in today's economy. So yeah, really do appreciate it. And thank you to everyone else who does support as well. There are still many other Patreon supporters in some of the lower tiers, and my love is there. I'm sending and receiving all the love being exchanged. Is that what's going on? I'm not too sure, but let's just say it is. But hey, if Patreon's not your thing, another option is by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/Dilz to make a one-time donation instead. And it's just a way so you can avoid that monthly subscription if you just want to send a one-time dono instead. It is greatly appreciated. And last but not least, if none of those things are your thing and you are a big Discord user and you want to send some love to the Discord server, you can head over to discord.gg/thewilderness, and we've got a few people who are helping boost that server, so we get some unique perks from that as well. So thank you, Toddy, Battlestabs, Chick, to Sasquatch. That's twice, damn. Hey Step Sis, aka No Step Bro, Cosmonaut, Rollin' Wisdom, Twisted Soul, and Twisted Ooh Woo, giving us that insider scoop on the Group Iron Man mode. Great stuff. Guys, thank you so much for the support. It really means a lot to me, and yeah, I appreciate it. Okay, we are back. Our question of the week from 2-3 episodes ago. We did that smaller episode, and anyways, there's been stuff going on. Our question was, when has OSRS bled into your real life? I've had this happen a few times when I'm Googling something. I'll be like, closest McDonald's near me, OSRS. Happens all the time. Or like sometimes when somebody had a kid once on Facebook, and I typed it GZ, and I had to delete it and then say congrats. You forget that GZ is is that like a RuneScape thing or a gamer thing? I think it's a RuneScape thing.
It's RuneScape, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I had this revelation the other day, a few weeks ago at this point. But I was talking to the wife, and I forget what we were talking about. But I said something, and then I said, "Oh man, sorry, I was AFK." I think she might have messaged me on Facebook a bunch and be like, "Why didn't you respond?" I was like, "Sorry, I was AFK." And she was like, and I just said it super natural, and I just kept talking. She's like, "Whoa, you're what?" And I was like, "I was AFK," and she was like, "What the hell does that mean?" And I was like, "You've never heard the word AFK before?" And she's like, "No, that's like some weird nerd gamer thing." And I was like, "Oh, it means away from keyboard." And she's like, "How the hell would I would never have guessed that." And I was like, shit, there's a bunch of how often in my day to day do I accidentally say something that people don't call me out on it, but they're in their head saying this guy, what the fuck is he talking about? Cosmonaut I shared this in the Discord, and he shared working in construction or some sort of labor field, and you have your hard helmet, but he called it a hard helm. And he got called out from it by coworkers. And apparently the word calling something a helm instead of a helmet, it's a very gamer or RuneScape thing to do, which I would never have thought about that. Have you anything like that ever happened to you? I'm sure it has, but is there anything that comes to mind?
I actually can't remember. Did I have one last week and then you told me to not do it?
It was 3 weeks ago.
Oh God.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's funny because these things are probably going to come up, and I'm going to try to be more aware of them because, yeah, it's just kind of funny. There's things that I just would say naturally, and then when the missus called me out on it, I was like, oh, I guess AFK isn't really a normal thing to say. How often did I say that at work when somebody messaged me on Slack and I didn't respond? Sorry, I was AFK. Which is weird to say I'm away from the keyboard, not I'm away from my computer or office or desk. It's pretty funny. But anyways, that was the question of the week, however long ago. And we did get a caller from the one and only Matacause1.
Will D boys, it is Matacause1 calling out of his cold, snowed-in office in Austria. And speaking of offices, this is actually 100% related to the question of the week, which is, how did RuneScape bleed into your personal life? I remember when I was a little kid, we were driving, my dad and I, past where his old office building used to be, and I asked my father, I said, "Oh, isn't that where your old office building used to be, but your office was deleted?" And my father still makes fun of me to this date because I guess you don't delete a building. But I was thinking of RuneScape. I was getting a little bit too tech-oriented with my conversation skills. So, yeah, that is... I guess it's only funny for me. It's probably not funny for anybody else listening to this. But anyway, that is when I noticed that RuneScape was bleeding into my personal non-RuneScape life, is when I said an office building was deleted and not, I guess, taken down or destroyed. Anyway, yes.
Matacause1, a pleasure as always. It happens. I think it happens to all of us. And if we pay attention, you'll notice it from these little day-to-day interactions. I'm curious to hear about your experience as a kid doing Desert Treasure. What are some memory? What's the story you have? What do you remember when you think of Desert Treasure? Anyways, let's wrap up. Guys, if you want to come hang out with the clan, if you're looking for a clan, we always say this game is better done with others. Join a clan. You can join ours as well, which is Wild Endgame, WILD. Our Discord is discord.gg/thewilderness. We have if you want to answer any If you want to send us any voice messages or answer one of the questions of the week, we have a SpeakPipe link in the description of this episode that you can click and record a message. You can also just type in a message as well through email, thewildernesspodcast@gmail.com. Even Twitter, I'm not super active on there, but I try to stay enough that I can see messages come in at thewildernessrs. And of course, if you're in the Discord, you can just shoot me a message as well, or Heartless. I think I covered it all. Anything you want to plug?
Nope. I have to go and fold like 100 pairs of socks, so that's not going to be fun. You know when you do laundry and you just put the socks in a basket? The basket has now overflowed, and I have to deal with it. And I'm getting low on socks. You know, you come out the laundry and you get like 2 pairs and it's a couple extras. Yeah, they finally exploded.
That's I heard this pro tip before, and I haven't put it in practice yet, but it was always buy the same brand and type of sock, and then you don't have to worry when you like lose one because you just have like hundreds and they're all the same.
All the exact same. Just buy the exact same clothes, then you'll never have to worry. Yeah, that's the thing though. I like to get some fun socks once in a while.
Oh, you get the fun socks.
Yeah, I got some patterns going on. I like really warm socks because my extremities are always cold. So I like a nice thick pair of socks.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of socks in general. So much so that I was like, I was asking people in the Discord.
You get those the white crew pack from Walmart, where slap on some sandals.
Oh, I was love wearing sandals, but I was actually asking people to tell me, I was questioning to see if anyone wears Crocs, because Crocs.
Oh, dude, I freaking love Crocs.
When they first came out, people they were a joke. People made fun of them all the time, and then something happened. Everybody wears them.
Dude, they're top tier content. Thunder and I both got in trouble for going to the gym in Crocs.
Really?
When he came to visit, he got an argument with the gym guy because apparently there's some woman who dropped weights on her. And if you know Thunder, he's like a ripped, absolutely shredded dude. So some woman dropped like a weight on her foot and tried to sue the gym because she was wearing because they like injured her or whatever. And they're like, no, we're wearing Crocs. So they banned weird. Crocs apparently, but I mean, if you drop a weight on your foot, it doesn't really matter what you're wearing.
You need steel toe construction boots.
It's gonna hurt. So, but anyways, that was pretty funny, dude. Crocs are great, man. They're basically like outdoor slippers.
That's amazing. See, I want them now. So I was looking at them the other day, and when the summer comes, when do you stop wearing them? You stop wearing them in the fall, or
dude, I literally just wore them to the corner store like maybe 2 hours ago.
No way. Can you wear them if there's snow out?
I mean, no, absolutely not. But it doesn't snow here, so not very much. But it was wet. I realized probably shouldn't have worn them. But if I'm taking the garbage outside in the summer, I wear them all the time. Obviously, if you're going shopping or you're going out downtown, you're gonna slap on a real another shoe. But I don't know. I'm a proponent for Crocs. I think they're great.
Amazing. I think you convinced me. I'm gonna get some.
Quality shoe. You definitely don't wear them out to dinner, that's for sure. But when Thunder came to visit me, he only had Crocs. That's all he wore the entire weekend.
Still wear them to dinner. Yeah, that sounds great.
We jammed. It was great, dude. Yeah, he convinced me to buy a pair and zero regrets.
Awesome. Yep, I'm convinced. I'm going to pick some up. But that being said, we do need to pick a song of the week. Pivoting to the song of the week, I have Frostbite here from Desert Treasure 1. What do you think?
Yep, do it.
Cool. It's the main melody of the song, starts on the harp, drums, and slow strings make up the rhythm. Shortly into the song, bells take over for the melody temporarily before returning to the harp. The bells continue playing as a harmony. Near the middle of the piece, the mood temporarily changes from its original slow, soft feel to an eerie, unresolved section. I like whoever's putting the effort to make these little musical analysis. It's fun. Anyways, that's it from me. I guess we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
That's it from us, I should say.
Yeah, that's it from me. See you guys. Dark Heartless is kicked off the podcast.
He's got a solo part. He's going to be running for the next half an hour.
Oh, Jesus.